वक्त हम संसद का रुख कर रहे हैं। विदेश मंत्री एस जयशंकर कुछ कह रहे हैं, आइए सबसे पहले उन्हें सुनते हैं।
India and China agreed on confidence building measures in the military field. In 2003, we finalized a declaration of principles of our relations and comprehensive cooperation, which included the appointment of special representatives. In 2005, a protocol was formulated on modalities for the implementation of confidence building measures along the LAC. At the same time, the political parameters and guiding principles for the settlement of the boundary question was agreed to. In 2012, a working mechanism for consultation and coordination, WMCC, was established, and a year later, we reached an understanding on border defense cooperation as well. Speaker, sir, the purpose of my recalling these agreements is to underline the elaborate nature of our shared efforts to ensure peace and tranquility, and to emphasize the seriousness of what its unprecedented disruption in 2020 implied for our overall relationship. The situation arising after our counter-deployment in 2020 called for multiple sets of responses. The immediate priority was to ensure disengagement from friction points so that there would be no further untoward incidents or clashes. This, sir, has been fully achieved, as I will explain. The next priority will be to consider de-escalation that would address the massing of troops along the LAC with associated accompaniments. It is also evident that the management of border areas will require further attention in the light of our recent experiences. In all of this, we were and we remain very clear that the three key principles must be observed in all circumstances. One, both sides should strictly respect and observe the LAC. Two, neither side should attempt to unilaterally alter the status quo. And three, agreements and understandings reached in the past must be fully abided by in their entirety. Honorable members would appreciate that as a result of the sustained tension and specific developments in the border areas, our overall relationship with China was bound to be impacted adversely. In the new circumstances, it was obviously not possible to continue the normal exchanges, interactions, and activities as in the past. In this regard, we made clear that the development of our ties were contingent on the principles of mutual sensitivity, mutual respect, and mutual interest. Throughout this period, honorable members would also be aware that government has maintained that India-China relations cannot be normal in the absence of peace and tranquility in the border areas. The combination of a firm and principled stance on the situation in the border areas, as well as a clearly articulated approach to the totality of our ties, have been the foundation of our engagement with China for the last 4 years. We have been very clear that the restoration of peace and tranquility would be the basis for the rest of the relationship to move forward. Since 2020, our engagement was therefore focused on these objectives. This took place at various levels involving different arms of the government. I myself have had meetings with my Chinese counterpart, as indeed has my senior colleague, Raksha Mantri ji. Our NSA has also engaged his Chinese counterpart, both being special representatives on the boundary question. More detailed discussions were conducted by the Working Mechanism for Cooperation and Coordination, WMCC, at the diplomatic level. Its military counterpart was the Senior Highest Military Commanders Meeting, SHMC mechanism. The interactions were naturally very tightly coordinated with a combined presence in the negotiations of both diplomatic and military officials. Since June 2020, 17 meetings of the WMCC and 21 rounds of SHMC have taken place. So, in this background, I would like, sir, to inform the House today about the agreement reached on 21 October 2024 regarding Depsang and Demchok. The twin considerations of an unstable local situation and an impacted bilateral relationship were clearly the drivers for these recent endeavors. These two areas have been the focus of our discussions in both WMCC and SHMC with the Chinese side since September 2022, when the last disengagement agreement was concluded at Hot Springs area. In the lead up to the October 21 agreement, I had discussed both the specific disengagement issue as well as the larger relationship with my Chinese counterpart in Astana on 4 July and Vientiane on 25 July. Our national security advisors, ours and the Chinese, met in St. Petersburg on 12 September, and the problem in these two areas pertained primarily to obstructions of our long-standing patrolling activity. In Demchok, there was also the question of access by our nomadic population to traditional grazing grounds, as well to sites of significance to the local people. As a result of this recent understanding, arrived at, after intensive negotiations, resumption of patrolling to the traditional areas is underway. It was initially tested by sending out patrols for verification of disengagement on the ground and is being followed up by regular activities as per the agreed understanding. Following the October 21 understanding, Prime Minister and President Xi Jinping had a meeting on the sidelines of the BRICS summit in Kazan on October 23. They welcomed the understanding and directed the foreign ministers to meet and stabilize and rebuild the relationship. The special representatives are also to oversee the management of peace and tranquility, besides exploring a fair, reasonable, and mutually acceptable solution to the boundary question. In pursuance of that, I recently held discussions with Foreign Minister Wang Yi again on the sidelines of the G20 summit in Rio de Janeiro on November 18th. Raksha Mantri ji has also met the Chinese Defense Minister Dong Jun at the ASEAN Defense Minister ADMM Plus meeting in Vientiane on November 20. The two ministers discussed progress on the recent agreement on disengagement, the need to